Hello, Refuge family. Today we're going to share a testimony about how was our experience with our last campaign.
As you all know, we haven't always been in church. We didn't know much about living a holy lifestyle, and when we did decide to go all in, we went all in. And when we had been to church for a while, we'd always given learned about tithing, so we gave our tithes. And when we came to the refuge, there was this campaign thing going on, and it was Faith Forward. We'd never done Faith Forward before, or we've never done a campaign like a pledge. So we just were super excited, and we followed our pastor's recommendations and prayed about it. Well, we followed up with each other as in, hey, what do you think? What are we pledging? And I came up with a number. When I asked him about his, he came up with the exact same number. So for us, that was confirmation that was the number that we were going to be pledging for Faith Forward. And we weren't sure if that was going to be really realistic, but we decided, since this is the number that we both got, we're going to go with it, and it'll happen somehow. Although we were kind of iffy about that number later on in our journey, we got crazy, I guess, and decided we had a great idea. We wanted to buy a home. It just got the bug, and we wanted to buy a home. So we started saving up for a home, which I also feel like it was a blessing from the Lord, because we were already trying to make this pledge thing happen. When we finally were able to save enough for a banker to take us seriously on a loan, we had looked at several houses. I was really excited about it. And I've finally found a home that I decided this is going to be my home, and I want to go look at it. And so we go and set up an appointment. I was ready to just have him look, and we're going to put in an offer. Well, that weekend, the appointment was for a Saturday. On a Thursday, I get a phone call that my husband was picked up by immigration.
Well, since I'm a really hard worker, Homeland Security decided that I needed some vacation, so I was taken away. But the Lord had a plan for me in there to spread the gospel, to give the word inside. And even though it was kind of like a hard time for us, it was a blessing, not just for me, for my family, but whoever came in contact with me.
When I found out, I initially was really, really I was scared. That day when Hugo was able to call me, his voice immediately calmed me down. He was so calm and was just basically not worried. He said, listen, we're with God now. If this would have happened when we were in the world, I would probably have been terrified, but we're with the Lord, and He's going to take care of us. No matter what happens, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. That first week was still really hard for me, and there was a lot of people praying as that was going on. And I know there were people who were fasting for us and for the situation that we were in. Well, mind you, now our income is cut in half, and immediately from day one, I started calling lawyers. We probably contacted about 12 to 15 lawyers, and each one of those was a consultation fee for the lawyers. Nobody wanted to take his case, which made it harder. So we immediately start seeing our savings just go down and down until we basically are almost out of our money that we had saved up. We talked about how we were going to make our payments and, what was going to happen. Well, tithing and our pledge was just off limits. Like, we were not going to mess with that money that belonged to the Lord. And we just knew if he gave us the confirmation for that amount and that's what we were going to pledge, then he knew that this was going to happen before it happened. So we knew he could see us. He could see our situation, and we're going to remain faithful to what we pledged because we knew it was from God. So we decided that was it. We weren't going to talk about it again, and we're just going to continue to be faithful on that, and then everything else would come second. Well, after that conversation, there was a gentleman who Hugo had worked with that called and said, "Hey, listen, I have something for Hugo. I need you to come pick it up ASAP." Well, that night before, I had been cooking to sell food in order to raise funds to be able to help alleviate some of the financial situation that we were in.
I remember that day I called her. It was late on the afternoon. And I was a little devastated knowing that my wife was doing extra work on top of her regular job to help out because we were we had run out of money. Well, that hurt me so much that I literally just hung up on her when she told me what she was doing. I went to my room and I cried. I prayed. And I asked God to help me. I told the Lord, I'm doing what I can in here. Please help my family. Well, the next day I called her again, and to my surprise, my God had answered my prayer.
So this guy that had called and asked me to pick something up for Hugo, he basically handed me an envelope and said, "This is for Hugo or anything that you guys need. I just felt like I needed to give this to you." So finally, that was like our first sign of relief. Well, after that, it just seemed like it was a snowball effect. There were people whom the Lord was talking to and who were coming forth to help us. And I never had to ask anyone for money. I never had to tell anybody that I was hurting financially or if I needed anything. Sometimes I'd come home from work and there was a box of food in my front doorstep and I have no clue who left it. And my vehicle was taken care of. There was someone who would come and say, "Hey, can I take your van for a drive? I want to make sure everything is okay." And basically I was taken care of completely. Although it was just me, it's just like God saw me and he was letting me know I'm right here and I have everything under control. In between that time, this was going on out here, Hugo had been put in a situation where he was kind of giving Bible studies in jail. And one of the guys that he had been giving Bible studies to, after a surprise court date that he had, basically because he still didn't have a lawyer, they gave him some more time. So one of the men there handed him a phone number of a lawyer.
And yes, so unexpectedly, they called me for a court hearing, and I didn't have a lawyer. And when everything was done, I was coming back to my cell. This guy just comes over and says, "This lawyer helped me. I believe I can help you." I knew that was my lawyer, so I tried to get a hold of my wife to hire this lawyer.
Well, he had called, and I was at work, so he had everybody calling me. Brother Eric was calling me, and Pastor Brown was calling me, and he was calling me. And when I finally was able to contact them, I actually was in the verge to pay for a lawyer that told me they couldn't do anything for my husband, but they would just buy me some time to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And I was getting ready. I literally sending out a check and signed all the paperwork. I was about to send it out to her, and Pastor Brown gets a hold of me and he talks to me and says, "Hey, listen, your husband does not want you to go with that lawyer. There's another lawyer that he was able to get information on, and she's going to be the one to hire. Can you give her a call?" So then Hugo calls me, and I'm like, "What are you doing? We have to hurry up, and this is urgent, and you don't know this lawyer." But he was just so sure. He was so sure that this was his lawyer and that she was going to be the one to help him. So I call her. She sets out a bond court, which all the other lawyers told me was impossible. There was no way he was going to be able to have a bond or a bond hearing at all. So we contract her, we hire her, and from there forward, it was just, you can just see the Lord's hand completely just keeping us afloat. I was never sure where we were going to get, our next bill paid from, but the Lord provided every single time. It got to the point where we were after that, we went to a court. We went to the court for the bond hearing, and apparently the judge did something he'd never done before. He couldn't make up his mind whether he was going to let him, grant him the bond or deny it. So we basically got sent home that day without an answer, and we had to wait. And in the meantime, the lawyer said, "You need to prepare yourself with $15,000 to $20,000 for a bond. That's about the amount that they're running right now for cases like your husband." And so I had no clue where we were going to come up with the money like that if he was approved for a bond, and all I knew is we were just going to trust in the Lord. When we finally received the phone call that his bond was approved, the judge decided to approve that bond. The amount that was set for his bond had been the exact amount that we had just been given. It accumulated within the past 3 days. It literally was the exact same amount I needed to bond him out. So to us, it was just God continued to work miracle after miracle. Even till this day, we can see his hand over our situation and over us. Not too long ago, somebody came to us and said, "The Lord has put in my heart that I need to give this to you." And we were confused.
Yeah, I was like, "Lord, I'm okay with my bills." I didn't understand what was for. Well, to our surprise, it was when this pandemic came, and me and my wife got sick, and we weren't able to work. I wasn't able to work for 2 weeks. So God covered them 2 weeks that I wasn't able to work.
And we didn't even know it. He's working. He's obviously seeing what's going to happen before it happens, and continues to put his hand over our lives till this day.
Overall, we're so excited for this new campaign. It's something so important for me because I'm going to be able to be a part of giving, being a part with my pastor, being behind him and supporting in whatever I can. And literally, we're going to, in some way, we're going to build some of the church ourselves. So that's really exciting. And I'm really thankful that one day my grandkids might be in that church, and be praising God like Grandpa and my sons did.
I'm really excited about this Until He Comes campaign because it tells me that He's continuing to work not just in my life, but in the life of our entire Refuge family. This church is going to be built to make room for more souls, for more people who, like us, didn't have any hope. And we're living a life where some days we'd make it work, but for the most part, it was an empty life. And now we get to rejoice in the Lord, and now we get to experience His miracles. And we're excited to see what miracles He has for other people to whom we've not even met to this day. I don't know what else to say.